Are you okay? Do you need help?
Please.
Her voice broke.
I need a gift for my mom. She's dying. This might be her last birthday.
I'll help you. Let me...
Adams! Step away!
She needs help, sir.
How did a beggar get in here?
Please, I have money.
Go back to the corner. Don't bother me. Get out!
Sir, just let me one more word.
And you're fired! I don't keep disobedient dogs who don't obey orders.
She grabbed Franklin's sleeve.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get you in trouble.
Tears ran down her face. On her wrist, beneath that torn sleeve, a watch worth more than everything behind the glass. Within an hour, all of this will have to change. Everything will be turned upside down. 3 hours earlier, Franklin Adams walked through the back entrance of Harrington's department store on Fifth Avenue. He always used the back door. Derek Holloway made that clear on his first day. Front doors were for customers. People like Franklin used the service entrance next to the dumpsters. Franklin clocked in at 7. His shift ran until 4. 9 hours of stocking shelves, mopping floors, and hauling boxes from the loading dock to the third-floor storage room. No elevator access for stock clerks. Derek's rule. Franklin carried 60-pound boxes up 3 flights of stairs, sometimes 8 trips before lunch. He didn't complain. He couldn't afford to. His mother, Ruth Adams, worked 2 jobs. Nights at a hospital laundry facility, mornings at a dry cleaner 6 blocks from their apartment in the Bronx. She had been doing this for 11 years, ever since Franklin's father left. Her hands were cracked from chemicals. Her knees swelled every winter. She never said a word about it. Franklin had a younger sister, Nora. She was 14 and already smarter than anyone in her school. She wanted to be a doctor. Franklin wanted to make sure she got the chance. That was why he worked at Harrington's. Minimum wage plus whatever tips the floor staff decided to share with him. Most weeks they didn't share anything. Franklin kept every dollar in a coffee tin under his bed. $812 so far. Not enough for a semester, not even enough for textbooks. But it was a start. He wanted to study architecture. He carried a sketchbook in his backpack everywhere he went, pages filled with buildings he designed during lunch breaks. Curved glass towers, community centers with rooftop gardens, libraries shaped like open hands. His drawings were precise and beautiful, but nobody at Harrington's had ever seen them. Nobody had ever asked. The store opened at 10. By 9:30, Franklin had already restocked the perfume counter, polished the marble floors near the entrance, and organized the new shipment of Italian leather bags that cost more than 3 months of his rent. Margaret Ellis found him in the stockroom, taping a torn box. "You eat yet?" "I'm fine, Ms. Ellis." "That's not what I asked." She set a wrapped sandwich on the shelf beside him. "Turkey and Swiss. Don't argue." Margaret was 61. She had worked at Harrington's for 23 years. She knew every product, every policy, every customer's name. She should have been manager. Everyone knew it. But Derek Holloway got the job instead 2 years ago because he was the regional director's nephew. Margaret was the only person in the building who treated Franklin like a human being. "Derek's in a mood today," she said quietly. "Some VIP client is coming in this afternoon. He wants the floor perfect." "It is perfect." "Not to him." Margaret lowered her voice. "Just stay out of his way, please." Franklin nodded. He understood. Staying invisible was part of the job. By noon, the store was full. Women in designer coats browsed the jewelry counters. Men in tailored suits testing watches worth more than Franklin's apartment. The air smelled like money and expensive perfume. Vanessa Cole arrived at 12:15. She walked through the front doors like she owned the building. Blonde hair, Chanel sunglasses pushed up on her forehead, 3 shopping bags already in hand from stores down the block. She snapped her fingers at the nearest associate. "I need someone in jewelry." "Not him," she pointed at Franklin without looking at him. "Someone who actually works here." Franklin was carrying a display rack across the floor. He stopped. He looked at her. She looked through him, like he was furniture. like he was part of the floor he had just polished. He set the rack down and kept walking. Derek appeared from his office, smile wide, hand extended. "Mrs. Cole, wonderful to see you. Let me personally assist you today." Franklin watched from behind a column of shoeboxes. This was the world he worked in. A world where his labor kept the lights on, but his presence was an inconvenience. Where he was good enough to carry the boxes, but not good enough to open them. He reached into his backpack and touched the edge of his sketchbook. Someday. Not today. But someday. Then the front door opened, and a girl in a torn hoodie walked in. The girl stood in the doorway like she wasn't sure she was allowed to enter. Her jeans were faded and torn at both knees. Her hoodie was 2 sizes too big, stained with something near the collar. Her hair was pulled back in a messy knot. She carried no purse, no shopping bags, just a small cloth wallet clutched against her chest with both hands. Every head in Harrington's turned. A woman near the handbag counter leaned toward her friend and whispered something. They both laughed. A man in a gray suit stepped aside as the girl passed, pulling his jacket closer like she might contaminate it. The girl walked straight to the jewelry counter. She pressed her face close to the glass and scanned the pieces inside. Her eyes moved with focus. She knew what she was looking for. She waited. The associate behind the counter, a woman named Bridget, glanced at her once, then turned away. She picked up a cloth and began polishing a bracelet she had already polished twice. The girl waited longer. She shifted her weight from one foot to the other. She cleared her throat. "Excuse me, could I see the emerald necklaces, please?" Bridget didn't look up. "Those start at 4,000. "I know." Bridget paused. Then she smiled the kind of smile that isn't really a smile. "I'm with another client right now. You'll have to wait." There was no other client. The girl nodded. She stepped back from the counter. She stood there with her hands folded, her chin down, her cloth wallet pressed tight against her stomach. She waited like someone who was used to being told to wait. Franklin watched from across the floor. He had seen this before. He had watched his mother stand in a department store just like this one, asking for help, being ignored, being made to feel like she didn't deserve to breathe the same air. His mother had held his hand that day. She had smiled at him after they left and said it was fine. But her eyes were wet. He put down the box he was carrying. He walked across the floor to the jewelry counter. "Hey, are you finding everything okay?" The girl looked up. Her eyes were red. She had been crying before she came in. Maybe she had been crying all day. "I need a necklace," she said. "For my mom." "What kind?" "Emerald. My mom loves emeralds. She always said they remind her of spring." The girl's voice cracked. "She has stage 4 cancer. The doctors said she might not make it to fall. I want to give her something beautiful, something she can hold when I'm not there." Her voice splintered on the last word. She pressed her fist against her mouth and turned away. Her shoulders shook once, then again. "I do everything now," she said, still not looking at him. "I cook, I clean, I carry her to the bathroom when she can't walk. I sit with her at 3 in the morning when the pain gets so bad she can't stop screaming." She wiped her eyes with her sleeve. "She doesn't know I hear her cry at night. She thinks I'm asleep. But I hear every single time." She looked back at Franklin. Her eyes were raw. "I just want to give her one thing that makes her smile. One thing that isn't medicine or a hospital bill or bad news. Is that too much to ask?" Franklin didn't say he was sorry. He didn't offer empty words. He just nodded and said, "Let me show you what we have." He walked behind the counter. He wasn't supposed to. Stock clerks didn't have access to the jewelry displays, but Bridget had walked away and nobody else was coming. He unlocked the case with the master key Margaret had given him months ago for emergencies. He pulled out a velvet tray of emerald pieces and set it gently on the glass. "This one," the girl said immediately. She pointed to a pendant on a thin gold chain, a single emerald, deep green, shaped like a teardrop. That's the one. The Whitmore Emerald Collection. Franklin looked at the tag. He looked at the name printed on the collection label. Whitmore. He didn't think anything of it. It's beautiful, he said. Your mom's going to love it. How much? $4,800. The girl closed her eyes. She opened her cloth wallet. Inside were crumpled bills, 20s and 10s and 5s, folded and refolded so many times the creases had turned white. She counted them on the counter with trembling fingers. I have $340, she whispered. I've been saving for 2 months. Franklin looked at the money. He looked at the necklace. He looked at this girl, standing in a store where nobody would help her, trying to buy something beautiful for a mother who was dying. He thought about the coffee tin under his bed. $812. His semester fund. His future. Let me see what I can do, he said. And that was the moment Derek Holloway's voice cut across the floor. Adams, step away from the counter. Now! Derek Holloway stood 10 feet away. His arms were crossed. His face was tight with the kind of anger that comes from being disobeyed. Franklin didn't move. I said step away. She's a customer, Mr. Holloway. She needs help. Derek walked closer. He lowered his voice, but not enough. Half the floor could still hear him. She is not a customer. Customers carry credit cards, not grocery bags. And you are not a sales associate. You are a stock clerk. You stock shelves. You mop floors. That is the beginning and the end of your job description. Nobody else was helping her, because nobody else is stupid enough to waste their time. Derek pointed at the velvet tray on the counter. Did you open that case? Yes. With whose permission? Franklin said nothing. Put everything back. Go to the stockroom. And pray I don't call corporate about this. Derek turned to Lily. And you, whatever you're looking for, you won't find it here. Try the flea market. Lily's jaw tightened, but she didn't argue. She reached for her cloth wallet and started gathering her crumpled bills. Franklin watched her hands shake. Mr. Holloway, Franklin said, give me 5 minutes, that's all I'm asking. You're not in a position to ask for anything. 5 minutes. Then I'll go back to the stockroom and you'll never hear from me again. Derek stared at him. The store was quiet. Customers were watching. Vanessa Cole lowered her sunglasses to get a better look. 2 minutes, Derek said, and this conversation isn't over. He walked away. His shoes clicked against the marble like a countdown. Franklin turned back to Lily. She was wiping her eyes with her sleeve. You didn't have to do that, she said. Yeah, I did. He's going to fire you. Probably. Lily looked at him, really looked at him, like she was seeing something she hadn't expected to find in a place like this. Why do you work here? She asked. I'm saving for school. What do you want to study? Architecture. Lily's expression shifted. Something flickered behind her eyes. Architecture, she repeated. What kind? Community spaces mostly. Libraries, recreation centers. Buildings that make neighborhoods feel like they belong to the people who live there. He paused. I know that sounds. It sounds like Tadao Ando, Lily said. Franklin blinked. Tadao Ando. The Japanese architect who designed concrete structures that held light like water. Nobody at Harrington's had ever heard that name. Most architecture students didn't reference him in casual conversation. You know Ando? My mom studied his work. She has a whole shelf of books about him. Lily smiled for the first time, a small, tired smile. She always said the best buildings don't shout. They whisper. Franklin stared at her. This girl in the torn hoodie who carried her money in a cloth wallet and couldn't afford a necklace. She talked about architecture the way professors did. Who are you? He asked. Not suspicious, just curious. Lily looked down at the emerald pendant still sitting on the velvet tray. "I'm just a girl trying to buy her mom a birthday present," she said, "before it's too late." Franklin picked up the pendant. He held it under the display light. The emerald caught the glow and burned green, deep and alive, like spring after a long winter. "We'll figure it out," he said. He didn't know how. He had $320 in tips and $812 in a coffee tin that represented every dream he had ever saved for. But some things mattered more than someday. Franklin pulled his wallet from his back pocket. It was thin, worn leather, a gift from his mother on his 16th birthday. He opened it and counted out $320 in wrinkled bills. Tip money. 2 months of carrying bags to cars for women who never looked at his face. He set the money on the counter next to Lily's $340. "That's $660 together," he said. "I know it's not enough, but if the store does layaway, we can put this down and pay the rest over time." Lily stared at the money. Then she stared at him. "You can't do that." "I just did." "That's your savings. You said you're saving for school." "School can wait." "No, it can't." Lily pushed his money back toward him. "I won't let you do this." "It's not your choice." Franklin pushed the money back. "Your mom needs this necklace more than I need a deposit on a semester I probably can't afford anyway." Lily opened her mouth to argue, but nothing came out. Her chin trembled. She pressed her palm flat against the glass counter and looked away. "Nobody's ever done anything like this for me," she whispered. "Not when I look like this. Not when they don't know who I—" She stopped herself. She swallowed hard. "Not when they don't know me," she finished. Franklin didn't push. He turned to look for a sales associate who might process the layaway. Bridget was gone. The counter was empty. He reached for the store phone to call the back office. That was when Derek returned. He didn't walk this time. He marched. His face was flushed. Behind him, 2 floor associates followed like soldiers. "Time's up, Adams." Derek looked at the money spread across the counter. His lip curled. "What is this, a charity auction?" "It's a layaway deposit," Franklin said. $660 toward a $4,800 necklace. The store policy allows— "I know what the store policy allows." Derek swept the bills off the counter with the back of his hand. They scattered across the marble floor. 20s and 10s and 5s landing at the feet of customers who stepped back like the money was dirty. Lily dropped to her knees. She started gathering the bills. Her hands were shaking. A $5 bill had landed under a woman's stiletto heel. Lily reached for it. The woman didn't move. Lily had to pull the bill from under her shoe, on her hands and knees, on a marble floor polished by the same boy standing 3 feet away. A customer near the watches shook his head and muttered, "Pathetic." Another woman covered her daughter's eyes like Lily was something a child shouldn't see. The girl who woke up at 3 in the morning to carry her dying mother to the bathroom was now crawling on a department store floor, collecting crumpled bills that smelled like the tip jars they came from. And not one person in that store knelt down to help her. Franklin didn't move. He looked at Derek. His jaw was set. His voice was level. "Pick that up." Derek laughed. Not a real laugh, a performance. He turned to the customers watching from the aisles. "Everyone, I want you to witness this. Our stock boy, the one who mops your floors, has decided he's a personal shopper now. He's pooling his pocket change with a street girl to buy a $5,000 necklace." He spread his arms wide. "You can't make this stuff up." A few customers laughed. Nervous, uncomfortable laughs, but laughs. Vanessa Cole stepped forward from the handbag section, her heels clicking like applause. "How adorable," she said. "The blind leading the blind. Maybe they can split a hot dog on the way out, too." More laughter. Louder this time. Lily stood up. She had gathered most of the bills. Her knees were dirty from the marble. Her eyes were red, but her voice was steady. "He was trying to help me. That's all he did." Derek turned to her. "Sweetie, nobody asked you. In fact, Nobody asked either of you to be here. This is Harrington's, not a soup kitchen. She's a paying customer, Franklin said, and so am I. $660 is real money. Real money. Derek picked up a single crumpled 20 from the floor. He held it between two fingers like it smelled bad. This isn't money. This is a tip jar. This is what people leave when they feel sorry for you. He dropped the bill. It floated to the ground. Franklin watched it fall. He thought about every car he had loaded, every box he had carried, every hour he had spent in this building being invisible. That $20 bill represented a woman's groceries carried through rain to a parking garage 3 blocks away. It represented dignity. His dignity. He picked up the bill, he folded it, he put it back on the counter. "I'd like to speak to someone above you," Franklin said. Derek's smile vanished. "There is no one above me in this store." "Then I'd like to file a formal complaint." The floor went silent. The Nessa's smirk disappeared. The associates behind Derek exchanged glances. Derek leaned in close. His voice dropped to a whisper that everyone could still hear. "You're done, Adams. Suspended. Effective immediately. Leave your name tag at the service desk and get out of my store." Franklin reached up and unclipped his name tag. He set it on the counter next to the money. "Fire me if you want," he said, "but I'm not leaving her." Derek blinked. He hadn't expected that. Margaret Ellis watched from behind a display of silk scarves. Her hand was over her mouth. Tears ran down her cheeks. She wanted to speak. She wanted to walk across that floor and stand next to Franklin. But she thought about her grandson, about the medical bills, about the rent. She stayed where she was. A woman in a red coat near the entrance pulled out her phone and began recording. Lily grabbed Franklin's arm. "Please, just go. I don't want you to lose everything because of me." Franklin looked at her. Her eyes were swollen. Her lip was bleeding where she had bitten it. "I already lost the job," he said. "Might as well make it count." He turned back to the counter. He placed both hands flat on the glass. The emerald pendant sat on its velvet tray between them, glowing under the lights. $660 in scattered bills surrounded it like a prayer. "I'm not leaving," he said, "until someone in this store treats her like a human being." Derek stared at him. The store stared at him. The woman in the red coat kept filming. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. And somewhere outside, 3 black SUVs turned onto Fifth Avenue. The silence lasted 11 seconds. Franklin counted. Then Derek turned on his heel and walked toward his office. He pulled out his phone as he went. Franklin couldn't hear what he said, but he saw the word security on his lips. The customers slowly returned to their shopping. The entertainment was over. The woman in the red coat lowered her phone but didn't stop recording. Lily tugged Franklin's sleeve. "Come on, let's go outside, please." Franklin gathered the bills from the counter. He folded them carefully and handed Lily's share back to her. She took them with both hands, pressing them against her chest like they were the last things she owned. They walked out through the front door. Derek's rule about the service entrance didn't apply anymore. Franklin wasn't an employee now. They sat on a bench across the street. The noise of Fifth Avenue filled the space between them. Taxis, horns, a man selling pretzels on the corner. Lily stared at her phone. The screen was filled with missed calls, all from the same contact. Dad. 12 calls in the last hour. She silenced it and put it back in her pocket. "I ruined everything for you," she said. "You didn't do anything. You lost your job because of me." "I lost my job because my manager is a coward who picks on people he thinks can't fight back." Franklin leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "That's not on you." Lily was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "My mom doesn't know I'm here. She thinks I'm at the library. She would never let me come to a place like that alone." "Why didn't you tell someone? a friend, or I wanted to do it myself. Just once. I wanted to walk into a store and buy something for her with my own money, without anyone knowing my... She stopped. Without any help. Franklin looked at her. There was something she wasn't saying, something sitting right behind her teeth. Her phone buzzed again. She glanced at it. Her jaw tightened. She typed a single message with her thumb and hit send. I have to go back in there, she said, and I need you to come with me. Why? Because in about 10 minutes, everything in that store is going to change. They walked back through the front doors together. Derek saw them before they crossed the threshold. He was standing at the jewelry counter with Greg Townsend, the security guard. Greg was a big man, former military. He kept his hands folded in front of him and his face empty. You have got to be kidding me, Derek's voice carried across the entire floor. Adams, you were suspended 30 minutes ago. This is trespassing. I'm not an employee anymore, Franklin said. That makes me a customer, and customers are allowed to walk through the front door. Derek's eye twitched. I'd like to make a purchase, Franklin continued. He walked to the jewelry counter and laid the combined $660 on the glass. Layaway deposit on the emerald pendant. Collection number WH-1142. Derek didn't look at the money. He looked at Greg. Remove them. Greg stepped forward. He put one hand on Franklin's shoulder, gentle but firm. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. I'm making a legal purchase. The manager has asked you to leave the premises. Lily stepped between them. He hasn't done anything wrong. We're trying to buy a necklace, that's it. Sweetheart, Derek said, the only thing either of you is buying is trouble. Vanessa Cole appeared from behind a display of cashmere scarves. She had been watching from the moment they walked in. Her phone was already in her hand. Oh, wonderful. They're back. She looked at Derek. Are you going to handle this, or should I call the police myself? That won't be necessary, Mrs. Cole. Derek straightened his tie. I'll handle it. He turned to the jewelry counter. He walked behind it. He opened the display case and looked inside for a long moment. Then he closed it. The emerald pendant is missing, he said. The floor went cold. What? Franklin said. The pendant. Collection number WH-1142. It was in this case 30 minutes ago, before you opened it without authorization. Derek's voice had changed. It was calm now, rehearsed. I believe you removed it from the display and concealed it on your person. That's a lie. Greg, search him. Greg hesitated. He looked at Franklin. He looked at Derek. Something in his face shifted. Sir, I can't conduct a search without... I'm the store manager, and I'm telling you there's been a theft. Search him. Franklin lifted both hands. He spread his arms wide. Search me. Check every pocket. Check my bag. I have nothing to hide. Greg patted him down. He checked Franklin's pockets, his backpack, the sketchbook inside, every page, every fold. Nothing. It's not on him, Greg said quietly. Derek didn't blink. Then he passed it to the girl. Lily's face went white. I don't have anything. Empty your pockets. Open that wallet. She doesn't have to do that, Franklin said. She does if she wants to leave this store without handcuffs. Lily opened her cloth wallet. Crumpled bills, a student ID, a library card. No pendant. Derek's jaw clenched. His plan was falling apart, but he was too deep to stop. They've hidden it somewhere. I'm calling the police. He picked up the store phone. I need to report a theft at Harrington's department store, 5th Avenue location. 2 suspects. Black male approximately 19, white female approximately 18. Stolen merchandise valued at $4,800. Franklin stood perfectly still. He had been accused before, not of theft, but of things, of being in the wrong place, of looking suspicious, of existing in spaces where people decided he didn't belong. He knew how this worked. He knew what happened when a black man stood in a luxury store and a white manager said the word theft. A woman pulled her child behind her, away from Franklin, as if he were dangerous. A man in a cashmere coat moved his wallet to his front pocket. 2 teenage girls whispered and giggled. The entire store had already convicted him. Not with evidence, not with logic, with a glance, with the color of his skin and the word of a man in a tie. Franklin felt it settle over him like a weight, the quiet, familiar suffocation of being guilty until proven innocent in a room full of people who would never have to feel the same thing. He looked at Lily. She was shaking. "It's going to be okay," he said. "No, it's not." Her eyes were filled with something Franklin hadn't seen before. Not fear. Fury. "He planted this. He took the necklace out of the case himself, and he's blaming you." "Can you prove that?" Lily looked up at the ceiling, at the small black dome above the jewelry counter. "The cameras can." Derek caught her glance. For half a second, something passed across his face. Then it was gone. "The cameras in this section have been offline since Tuesday," he said. "Maintenance issue." Vanessa nodded. "I've been shopping here all week. The cameras were down yesterday, too." The woman in the red coat was still recording. 2 other customers had their phones out now. The store was becoming a theater, and Franklin was the accused standing center stage. Sirens. Faint at first, then louder. 2 police officers walked through the front doors. 1 male, 1 female. They approached the jewelry counter with the careful neutrality of people who had been to scenes like this before. "Who called this in?" the male officer asked. "I did." Derek extended his hand. "Derek Holloway, store manager. I'd like to report a theft." The officer looked at Franklin. He looked at Lily. He looked at the crumpled money on the counter. "Sir, please keep your hands where I can see them." Franklin placed both palms flat on the glass, the same glass that held emerald necklaces and velvet trays and price tags that meant nothing to the people who could actually afford them. Lily stood beside him. Her phone was in her hand. The screen glowed with a single delivered message. She had sent it 12 minutes ago. It said, "Fifth Avenue, Harrington's. Come now. Bring everyone." The reply had come in 8 minutes ago. It said, "On my way." The male officer took Derek's statement first. Derek spoke with the confidence of a man who had rehearsed his version of the truth. The suspect, Franklin Adams, opened the jewelry case without authorization approximately 40 minutes ago. He was alone with the display for several minutes. After that, the emerald pendant, valued at $4,800, was missing. I believe he either concealed it on his person or passed it to the young woman. The female officer turned to Franklin. "Sir, can you tell me what happened?" Franklin spoke slowly, clearly. He did not raise his voice. "I opened the display case to help a customer find a necklace for her mother. I showed her the piece. She decided she wanted it. We tried to arrange a layaway purchase. The manager refused. He swept our money off the counter. He suspended me. When we came back to try again, he claimed the necklace was stolen." "Did you take the necklace?" "No." "Did you hand it to anyone?" "No." The officer looked at Derek. "Is there security footage of the jewelry counter?" Derek shook his head. "The cameras in this section have been down since Tuesday. Maintenance issue. I can show you the work order." "Convenient," Lily said from behind Franklin. The male officer raised his hand. "Ma'am, please wait your turn." Greg Townsend stood by the entrance with his arms folded. He had been quiet since the search. His eyes kept drifting to something behind the jewelry counter, something only he could see from his angle near the door. He had worked security at Harrington's for 6 years. He knew every camera in the building. He knew which ones were real and which ones were dummies. And he knew something Derek apparently didn't. The jewelry counter had 2 cameras. The main dome, the one Derek pointed to when he said the system was down, and a backup, a small pinhole unit installed 18 months ago after a string of internal theft incidents. It was hidden behind the crown molding above the display case. It fed to a separate server in the basement. Derek didn't know about it. Greg did, because Greg had installed it himself. He walked to the back office without saying a word. He took the stairs to the basement. He logged into the secondary security terminal. He pulled up the feed from camera JC2B, time-stamped 43 minutes ago. The footage was clear. Franklin opens the case. He pulls out the velvet tray. He shows the girl the pendant. They talk. He puts the tray back. He closes the case. The pendant is visible inside. Franklin walks away. Greg fast-forwarded. 7 minutes later, Derek Holloway approaches the same case. He opens it with his master key. He reaches inside. He removes the emerald pendant. He slips it into the inside pocket of his suit jacket. He closes the case. He walks away. Greg stared at the screen. He rewound it, watched it again. Derek's hand going into the case. Derek's hand coming out. The pendant disappearing into charcoal wool. Greg pulled out his phone. He recorded the playback, every second of it. Then he walked back upstairs. The officers were still taking statements. Derek was explaining to the male officer why Franklin had a history of insubordination. Vanessa was corroborating, adding details she couldn't possibly have witnessed. Greg walked up to the female officer. He didn't look at Derek. "Officer, I have something you need to see." He held up his phone. He pressed play. The officer watched. Her expression didn't change, but her posture did. She straightened. She turned the screen toward her partner. The male officer watched. Then he looked at Derek. "Mr. Holloway, I'm going to ask you to empty your pockets." Derek's smile vanished. "Excuse me?" "Your jacket pockets, both sides. Now, please." The color drained from Derek's face. He looked at Greg. He looked at the phone. He understood. That camera was supposed to be... He stopped himself, but it was too late. Everyone heard the beginning of that sentence. That camera was supposed to be disabled. That camera was supposed to be off. That camera was supposed to be something only Derek knew about. The front doors of Harrington's opened, and the sound that came through was not a siren. It was the low, heavy rumble of 3 black SUVs pulling to the curb. The first man through the door wore a black suit that cost more than Derek Holloway's car. He didn't speak. He scanned the room, touched his earpiece, and stepped aside. The second and third men followed. Same suits, same silence. They positioned themselves at the entrance and the far wall. Then Richard Whitmore walked in. He was tall, silver-haired. His shoes were polished to a mirror finish. He wore a charcoal overcoat draped over his shoulders like a man who had never once carried his own luggage. Behind him came 2 more men in suits, not bodyguards, lawyers. They carried leather briefcases and faces that showed nothing. The entire store went still. Vanessa Cole recognized him first. Her shopping bag slipped from her fingers and hit the floor. She didn't pick it up. "That's Richard Whitmore," someone whispered. "The Richard Whitmore? Whitmore Technologies, the $12 billion... Dad!" Lily ran across the marble floor. She crashed into Richard's arms. He caught her. He held her tight. His hand pressed against the back of her head, and for 3 seconds, the billionaire disappeared. He was just a father holding his daughter. Then he let go. He looked at her face, the swollen eyes, the torn hoodie, the dirty knees from where she had crawled on the floor picking up scattered bills. "Who did this to you?" Lily didn't point. She didn't need to. She told him everything. From the moment she walked in, the associate who ignored her, the manager who called her a street girl, the man who helped her, the money swept off the counter, the false accusation, the police. Richard listened without interrupting. His expression didn't change, but his jaw tightened with every sentence. By the time Lily finished, his hands were shaking. He turned to the officers first. "I'm Richard Whitmore. This is my daughter, Lily Whitmore. I understand she and this young man have been accused of theft." The female officer nodded. "We're still investigating, sir. We've just received security footage that... May I see it? Greg stepped forward. He played the footage on his phone. Richard watched in silence. Derek removing the pendant from the case, Derek sliding it into his jacket, the timestamp, the angle, the proof. Richard looked up from the screen. He looked directly at Derek Holloway. Empty your pockets. Derek's mouth opened. Nothing came out. The officers already asked you once. I'm asking you again. Empty your pockets. The male officer stepped closer. Mr. Holloway, if you have the pendant on your person, now would be the time. Derek's hand trembled. He reached into the inside pocket of his suit jacket. His fingers closed around something. He pulled it out slowly. The emerald pendant sat in his palm. The gold chain dangled between his fingers. It caught the light and threw green across the marble floor. The store gasped. That's the necklace, Lily said. The one he said was stolen. The female officer took the pendant from Derek's hand and sealed it in an evidence bag. Mr. Holloway, you're being detained for filing a false police report, fabricating evidence, and theft of store merchandise. Please turn around. Derek's legs buckled. Sir, Mr. Whitmore, please. It was a misunderstanding. I didn't know she was your... You didn't know. Richard's voice was quiet. That was what made it terrifying. You didn't know she was my daughter, so it was fine to humiliate her, to call her a street girl, to sweep her money off the counter and watch her crawl on the floor to pick it up. He stepped closer. And this young man, you didn't know who he was either. So it was fine to call him a charity case, a diversity hire, to fabricate a theft charge and put his hands on a counter in front of 30 people like a criminal. Richard reached into his coat and pulled out his phone. He dialed a number and pressed speaker. Arthur, it's Richard. Richard, what can I do for you? I'm standing in your Fifth Avenue store. Your manager, Derek Holloway, just planted stolen merchandise in his own jacket and accused a 19-year-old stock clerk of theft. Your security cameras have the full recording. The police are here, and my lawyers are standing next to me. Silence on the line. Then, Derek Holloway is terminated immediately, effective this moment. I'm sending regional management now. Richard, I am deeply sorry. Don't apologize to me. Apologize to the two people your employee tried to destroy. Richard ended the call. Vanessa Cole was edging toward the side exit. One of Richard's lawyers stepped into her path. Mrs. Cole, your comments today were recorded on at least 4 phones currently in this room. You publicly referred to these two individuals as, let me check my notes, the blind leading the blind, and suggested they split a hot dog on the way out. My client's legal team will be reviewing this footage for potential defamation and harassment claims. Please don't leave the city. Vanessa's face turned the color of old paper. She sat down on the nearest chair without saying a word. The officers placed Derek in handcuffs. He didn't resist. He didn't speak. He stared at the floor as they walked him past the jewelry counter, past the velvet trays, past the display cases he had guarded like a kingdom. Greg approached Franklin. His eyes were wet. I knew, he said. I knew he was wrong from the start, and I didn't say anything until it was almost too late. I'm sorry. Franklin nodded. You came through when it mattered. That counts. Margaret Ellis pushed through the small crowd that had gathered. She was crying. Her hands were clasped in front of her like she was praying. Franklin, I stood there. I watched. And I said nothing. Her voice broke. You deserved better from me. I'm so sorry. Franklin put his hand on her shoulder. Ms. Ellis, you fed me every day when nobody else cared if I ate. Don't apologize to me. Margaret buried her face in her hands. Richard Whitmore stood in the center of the store. The crowd had formed a half circle around him. Phones were recording. The woman in the red coat had tears streaming down her face. Richard looked at Franklin. You're the one who helped my daughter when every single person in this building turned away. Franklin met his eyes. I just did what anyone should have done. No, Richard shook his head. You did what no one else would. Richard Whitmore walked Franklin outside. The Fifth Avenue air hit them both. Cold, clean, a different world from the one inside that store. They sat on the same bench where Franklin and Lily had sat an hour before. The bodyguards kept their distance. Lily stood nearby, arms folded, watching. Tell me about yourself, Richard said. Franklin hesitated. He wasn't used to being asked. I'm 19. I live in the Bronx with my mom and my sister. My mom works 2 jobs. My sister wants to be a doctor. I want to study architecture. Lily told me. She said you carry a sketchbook everywhere. Franklin reached into his backpack and pulled it out. He held it on his lap, but didn't open it. May I? Franklin handed it over. Richard opened it slowly. Page after page of hand-drawn buildings, community centers with wide glass walls, libraries with curved roofs that let in natural light, a recreation hall with an open courtyard and trees growing through the floor. Richard stopped on one page. A building with a rooftop garden overlooking a neighborhood of low-rise apartments. At the bottom, Franklin had written, "For the people who stay." Richard closed the book. He held it for a moment before giving it back. You used your own savings to help a stranger buy a necklace. You lost your job for it. You stood in that store with your hands on a counter being accused of a crime you didn't commit. And not once did you raise your voice. Richard leaned forward. Character isn't what you show the rich. It's what you give the invisible. He reached into his coat and pulled out a business card. Plain white, gold lettering. He wrote a phone number on the back. I'm offering you a full scholarship, architecture program, any school you choose. Tuition, books, housing, everything. And when you're ready, there's an internship waiting for you at Whitmore Technologies. We're building a community development division. I think you should lead it. Franklin stared at the card, his vision blurred. I can't accept this. Why not? Because I didn't help your daughter to get something in return. Richard smiled. The first real smile Franklin had seen from him. That's exactly why you deserve it. Lily sat down next to Franklin. She bumped his shoulder with hers. Just take it, Franklin. You helped me when you had every reason not to. Let someone help you back. Franklin looked at the card. He looked at the sketchbook in his lap. He looked at the buildings he had drawn on lunch breaks, sitting on overturned boxes in a stockroom where nobody knew his name. He closed his fingers around the card. Thank you, he said. I won't waste it. I know you won't, Richard said. I could see that the moment my daughter said your name. 6 months later, Franklin Adams walked through the front doors of Columbia University School of Architecture. Full scholarship. Full ride. His mother cried when he told her. Nora hugged him so hard she cracked his back. His first studio project, a community recreation center for the Bronx, was selected by Whitmore Technologies for their neighborhood development program. The sketchbook he once carried in a stockroom backpack now sat on a drafting table with his name on it. Harrington's completed a full internal investigation. Every employee underwent mandatory anti-discrimination training. 3 additional staff were terminated for buried complaints. Margaret Ellis was promoted to floor supervisor. Derek Holloway was charged with filing a false police report, evidence tampering, and fraud. He was blacklisted from every luxury retailer in Manhattan. Vanessa Cole settled a harassment claim out of court. She was never seen at Harrington's again. Lily visited Franklin's studio every Thursday with coffee and architecture books. Her mother wore the emerald pendant to every chemotherapy session. She said it reminded her that spring always comes back. Franklin never forgot the moment that changed his life. Not the scholarship, not the internship. The moment he looked at a stranger and decided she was worth the risk. What would you have done? Would you have stayed when everyone else turned away? Tell us in the comments. Share this story. And if you haven't already, subscribe. Hashtag justice for Franklin. Hashtag don't judge. Hashtag kindness wins.
The story is over, but one thing keeps sticking with me. We easily believe kindness is free. It costs nothing to be nice. That's what people say. Sounds true, but it's not. Kindness has a price, and most people aren't willing to pay it. It's easy to be kind when it's convenient. Hold the door, say please, smile at the cashier. That's the cheap version, the one that fits on a bumper sticker. But real kindness, the kind that actually matters, almost always costs you something. The time, the money, the job, the safety. The moment kindness becomes expensive, it's the moment you find out if you actually mean it. And most of us don't, not because we are bad, because the math doesn't work. We run the number. What do I lose if I have? And the answer is usually enough to make us keep walking. We tell ourselves somebody else will step in, somebody with more to give, somebody who can afford the cost, but nobody else steps in. That's the whole problem. Everybody is waiting for the person who can afford to be kind, and meanwhile, the one who needs help is still standing there alone. So here's a lesson. If you're waiting until kindness is free to start giving it, you will never give it. The moments that matter most are the ones that cost the most. That's not a bank, that's a point. If you had been in that store, would you have stayed? I would recommend hit like, subscribe. See you next time.